I'm Maxine Bingham. I have a master's in Near Eastern Studies from UC Berkeley, and I'm the founder of Women of Purple, a ministry to women about Bible history and archaeology. And now I'd like to talk to you about the Dead Sea Scrolls and how archaeology can provide context. So, what are the Dead Sea Scrolls? They are 900 ultimately found from caves in Qumran in the Dead Sea, originally found by a shepherd in 1947. They were written by a community called the Essenes, a religious community that took itself out of Jerusalem because they felt that the religious there were not strict enough. Many of them are in fragments, which is why some of them have taken years to put together. They were written between the 3rd century BCE and the 1st century CE. So there's a text of the Bible called the Masoretic text, which did not get its final form until 1,000 years after the Dead Sea Scrolls. The corpus includes every book of the Bible except Esther and Nehemiah. It is thought not Esther because God is not mentioned, plus sectarian or community, apocryphal documents, and letters. Scholars have looked at these and compared these to the Bible and found that scribal changes have been absolutely insignificant, akin to changing an A to an an, absolutely no change to meaning, which is another proof of the truth and reliability of the Bible. Here's an example of Cave 4 in Qumran, the Dead Sea area. And you can see it's quite a climb. So the Dead Sea Scrolls, they help us with context for the New Testament. And that is through what we call the sectarian or community documents. Those include the community rule with lots and lots of information about how they want to govern themselves. The scroll of the War of the Sons of Light against the Sons of Darkness. They had a very strong eschatology of the end of days. And a document scroll called 4QMMT, or Works of the Law, that happens to illuminate Paul's writings. So, what is 4QMMT? Just to give you some background, the Pharisees built what they call a wall around the Torah, which they added laws so that if people transgressed, they wouldn't transgress the laws in the Bible itself and bring down God's wrath. But the Essenes called the Pharisees shoddy wall builders because they felt that the extra law they added wasn't nearly enough. And they had a focus on adding laws and minutia around laws that we would consider to be extreme. So what is this document called 4QMMT, or Miksat Ma'aseh HaTorah, translated as Works of the Law? It is 22 points of the Halakha, which is Jewish law, on which the Qumran community, the Essenes, differed from the religious leaders of the Pharisees and the Sadducees, by the way, of the Jerusalem temple. So here's an example for 4QMMT of the kind of thing the Essenes spent their time on. So here's an extra law they added. Also concerning flowing liquids. We say that in these there is no purity. Even flowing liquids cannot separate unclean from clean because the moisture of flowing liquids and their containers is the same moisture. So they're going beyond Jewish law to the nth degree. So interestingly, this title of the scroll, the Works of the Law, finds itself into Paul's letters. So here are two examples. Romans 3:20. For by works of the law, no human being will be justified in his sight, since through the law comes knowledge of sin. And Galatians 2:16. Yet we know that a person is not justified by works of the law, but through faith in Jesus Christ. So we also have believed in Christ Jesus in order to be justified by faith in Christ and not by works of the law, because by works of the law, no one will be justified. So here Paul is contrasting what is sort of in the air, this belief that works of the law is going to justify you. And he's saying it's absolutely not true. So the Dead Sea Scrolls discovery, in this case, helps us understand Paul's terms in his letters to the Galatians and the Romans. So archaeology brings critical context to the New Testament and Old. There are myriad and myriad and myriad ways that archaeology helps us understand what is written in the Bible. And the more we study archaeology, the more we understand what it is that people like Paul are teaching us and helping us to understand. Thanks for listening to the Bible and the Dead Sea